Hi, I'm Steve Miletto from the Teaching, Learning, Leading K-12 podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hello, empowered principals. Welcome to episode 364.
Welcome to the Empowered Principal Podcast, a not-so-typical educational resource that will teach you how to gain control of your career and get emotionally fit to lead your school and your life with joy by refining your most powerful tool, your mind. Here's your host, certified life coach, Angela Kelly Robeck.
Well, hello, my empowered principals. Welcome to December, the month of head colds. I have a little bit of congestion, so I apologize for the change in voice on this episode, but the show must go on. I'm feeling better than I sound. I'm feeling much better than I did a while back, but this podcast feels very important to share with you because I'm speaking to all of you who are feeling overwhelmed. I want to offer some thoughts, some insights into silencing that overwhelm, or at least turning down its volume. So this year has been emotionally intense. It's been emotionally intense for a lot of reasons. And with that emotional tension and that emotional intensity can come fatigue and overwhelm. And for many principals, people have been reaching out to me in droves, asking for help, for guidance, for support. They are eager to jump in EPC because they are looking to feel grounded. They want to silence the overwhelm. And I have been working in EPC to help school leaders regulate their nervous systems, calm down the anxiety and the stress and the worry and the overwhelm and the frustration and the fear of not being good enough, capable enough, competent enough, fast enough, smart enough, decisive enough, just overriding insufficiency. I have a principal who's not a brand new principal. She's been in the position for a few years and she has some experience under her belt, but she's feeling more overwhelmed than ever. And when you're feeling that intensity of overwhelm emotionally, when it feels like everything's coming at you at once, you can't seem to get control of your time or your schedule, or it feels too difficult to prioritize. And on top of it, you have people's judgments, criticisms, accusations, requests, demands, their unhappy responses, thinking you should be doing things differently than you should be. When you have tasks on top of people's opinions, on top of emergencies, fires, interruptions, behaviors, it can feel like there's no going back. There's no way to reconcile this and to get back on track. Okay? When you're feeling this way, the first thing you need to do is stop. It's very counterintuitive, but the goal is not to go faster or schedule more or work longer hours. The goal is to stop yourself for a minute and take stock. You're not going to feel like doing this because it feels like you're revving at the start line. Why can't I go just do the things and get them done so I can feel better? But if you take a stop and you pause and you look at that approach, let's just think this through. You've been working harder and harder. People are asking for more and more. The demands are increasing. The timelines are coming. Observations aren't quite getting done. People are not, maybe behaving in the way that you want them to. Teachers aren't teaching in the way that you want them to. Students are not engaging the way you want them to, or you have parents or you have IEP meetings that are not getting scheduled in the right time. When all of these things are coming at you at rapid fire, your brain eventually is going to want to shut down. It's the overwhelm cycle in motion. You're going to try and keep up, and eventually you're going to run out of steam and you'll want to shut down. It's almost like you just want to close everything off. You just want to jump in your car and drive away. Have you ever felt that way? I have sat in my car a couple times pondering if I should come back or not. First of all, it's normal. The overwhelm is normal because there is too much to do in the amount of time you're provided. If you were to fulfill every request, every ask, every demand, attend every single meeting, connect with every single human, connect with every single student, every parent, be in tune with the district office, if you were to literally do all of it per everybody's opinion, yeah, there would be too much to do and not enough time. So if that's a given, trying to outrun the overwhelm is what's creating more overwhelm. But you go past the point of overwhelm into either frustration, discouragement, or complete shutdown, complete apathy. When the overwhelm is so intense that you feel like running, that is the time when the most important meeting on your calendar is a meeting with yourself. To sit down and take a breath, take a few of them, and to pause your body long enough to start to regulate your nervous system, your emotional intensity, all of that overwhelm, the panic, the fear, the overwhelm, the doubt, the frustration, that all combined into one big intense emotion. It needs you to pay attention. It's there for a reason. It is inviting you into awareness and reflection. So when the emotions get big, when overwhelm gets to be so much that the only solution feels like quit, run away, you are definitely in fight or flight, my friend. Sit down, ground your feet, take a breath, and notice that if you actually sit in your office with the door closed and you take a couple of deep breaths, you're actually safe physically. You're actually safe mentally. You're actually safe emotionally. It might not feel safe, but you can regulate yourself. Just like we ask kids to do, we ask them to learn how to emotionally regulate themselves. This is what we're doing when we are in extreme overwhelm. We're taking the breath. We're going to pause for a moment. And that pause is the magic wand to turning down the volume of overwhelm. It's like saying, whew, okay, I need a minute. Let me breathe. Let me slow down my body, my heart rate, my blood pressure, my nervous system. And let's say, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. My mind is racing. My heart is beating fast. There's a lot of energy in my body. And when I'm overwhelmed, I know that overwhelm is simply a message to get my attention, to get me to slow down and stop and regroup and recalibrate so I can reboot and get back to business, doing what I was meant to do. When overwhelm is overwhelming you, the quickest solution is not to run away from it, not to do more, take more action. The fastest response to turn down the volume is to listen to it, to let it guide you, to let it inform you. There is a reason that you're overwhelmed every single time. You want to identify why you're overwhelmed. That is how you can untangle being overwhelmed. And one thing I've noticed a lot of times when my clients will slow themselves down after they've done all of the venting and sharing as to all the reasons why they're overwhelmed and the reasons why they can't get out of overwhelm, one thing they notice is that they have dropped the reins of time mastery, of planning mastery, of balance mastery. They've just forgotten that they're the ones in control of their time, of their planning to create balance, that they are the masters of their time, balance, and planning. Now, listening to this podcast right now, you're like, easier said than done. And to that, I say, of course. If it were easier done than said, we wouldn't be having this conversation and I probably wouldn't be a coach. But the truth is that when we're overwhelmed and overwhelm doesn't get acknowledged or validated or have a voice to share with you the insight and wisdom and wonderings that it has for you, and you rush away from it. You're like, I'm overwhelmed. I got to go do more. It's a way of avoiding the emotion versus just sitting with it. Wow, I'm really overwhelmed right now. I'm spinning. I feel like I'm whack-a-moling. I feel like I don't know what to do. I'm feeling incompetent. I don't feel like I'm a good principal. See how your identity has shifted because of the overwhelm, how your actions are impacted because of the overwhelm. And if you ask the overwhelm, what insight, what wisdom do you have for me? What knowledge do you have for me? It will tell you. It's like, well, I'm overwhelmed because we didn't plan for this, or there's not a system for that, or I didn't schedule this, or I've been overworking to the point of exhaustion. I can't even think straight. Overwhelm will have some insight for you. That's why it's here. It's knocking on your door to let you know it's here. And if you invite it in and listen, it immediately turns the volume down. And then when you take in that wisdom and you're willing to use that wisdom and apply it to, oh, I haven't been planning very well. Why haven't I been planning very well? Well, it's because I'm whack-a-moling all day. I'm putting out fires and I'm thinking the reasons, the excuses that my brain is offering is there's no one else to do it. And I help kids co-regulate faster and better. Teachers can't do it. They're overwhelmed. I feel bad for them. Your brain's going to offer you all kinds of reasons that feel very valid. You have to look at them with a critical eye. Is it absolutely true? There's no one else? Or did we just not plan for this or train for this? And then you'll say, well, there's not time for that. You might feel like there's not time to prepare somebody to delegate a task to, but what is it costing you in the end? Which is more time effective in the long run? Training somebody to support you or you doing it yourself for the rest of time? That goes from everything from newsletters, staff bulletins, to cleaning the staff room. There's so many things that we get our fingers in. Event planning is a big one, right? We think we need to be the person that plans all the events. We think we need to be the only person who can do the master schedule or facilitate every single meeting or write the bulletins or write the newsletters to the parents. There's so many things that we actually think we need to do that we don't. And they feel very true. So we increase our own overwhelm when we're not willing to sit down and say, how am I actually spending my time? And what is the return on investment of that time? Back to the client I was working with, her brain was being very mean to her, saying she's not doing anything right. She can't keep up. Nobody's happy. Nobody likes what I'm doing. Everybody has this opinion of me that I'm dropping the ball and I'm not doing this. I'm very scattered. And why that felt so painful is a part of her brain that actually believed it, that she is dropping balls and she is scattered and she's overworking at the cost of her friends and family and personal time, but not feeling like she's creating the desired results she wants. And then you get into an argument with yourself. And so now there's a peanut gallery in your brain judging and criticizing every little thing you do, whether you do it right or whether you don't. And at the same time, the other half of your brain is defending yourself from the peanut gallery. So now you have an internal conversation going on that doesn't serve you because half of you is being critical and the other half of you is on the defense and trying to justify your actions. When the truth of it is, we want to clear both of that. It's not an all or none game. You're not doing it all right or all wrong. It's always the land of and. So being able to silence the overwhelm comes from you listening to the overwhelm. And I'll give you a little secret. This is true for every emotion you feel. Slowing down, stopping, pausing, listening to it. What does it have to offer you? And the same is true for people. When people are at you the most, when they're coming at you sideways the hardest, listen to them. Acknowledge them. Even if you don't like what they're saying, even if what they're saying is not true, listen. Because that person is creating overwhelm for you. The best way to turn down the overwhelm is to listen. Once you listen, the insights will come. I can show you how to do this. I know this is a practice nobody teaches you, which is what I teach in EPC, so I can teach you how to do this. But when you listen to your emotions, let them have a voice, validate them, acknowledge them, and listen what they have to say, you will be surprised at how knowledgeable you are, how wise you are, how you actually know exactly what to do to turn down the overwhelm, to reduce the overwhelm, to silence it. You might not want to do those things and be in resistance to those things, but you know. So you know if you haven't really been planning. But if you have been planning, then there's something else. Maybe there's a system that needs to be smoothed out. Solutions are in the specifics. Your brain wants to stay general and ambiguous, and overwhelm is very general and very ambiguous. It's just everything's wrong, and it's like henny penny and running around, calling chaos. But the truth is that when you slow your brain down and you get very specific, what's working, what's a little crunchy, and what do I want to adjust so that I feel less overwhelmed, you'll be shocked to know that you already know the answer. You already have some solutions. You just might be in resistance to those solutions. And if you're in resistance to the solutions, that's where EPC steps in and helps you unblock and remove those resistant obstacles in your mind, those thought obstacles, the reasons that you think you just can't. We change that into I can. We make it from hard to easier. We make it from complicated to simple. That's the magic of EPC. So, step 1, you have the volume control for overwhelm, and you can turn it down as low as you'd like. It's all up to you. EPC doors are opening in January. I would love to have you all join us. Join us now as an early bird. Get on the wait list because we're going to be doing the mid-year reboot. We're going to reboot, recalibrate, get your momentum going for the second half of the school year. Have an amazing week. I'll talk to you next week. Take good care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Empowered Principal Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more, please visit angelakellycoaching.com, where you can sign up for weekly updates and learn more about the tools that will help you become an emotionally fit school leader.